Welcome back. I want to speak a bit more about the midterms. But first, I have a confession to make. There's something about politics that brings out my obsessive streak, and I don't know that it's a good thing. I think this is true for many of us that politics is a place where we actually spend way too much time and energy to be focused on it because we have this feeling like in DC and Brussels and all of these seats of power around the world, Kremlin, Kiev now lately, all of these places is where the future of humanity is being decided. This is where the big guys come together to make sure that things go well or they go to hell. And I think this is a real mistake that we're all making. Because my whole purpose for this little channel here is to give you a message of truth and thriving, right? There's a lot that we need to speak frankly about because there's a lot that is, well, pardon my French, a bit fucked up, messed up. But there is such an opportunity right now to let go of the world that isn't working. And it's not up to the politicians. They're playing this game as if they care about the future of humanity, about the future of the climate as they take their private jets that spew out tons of CO2 into the atmosphere that they seem to think is going to destroy us all, but they don't seem to care that their actions are incongruous with the goals that they're peddling for you and me. So there is a lot of hypocrisy with politicians, and it's very clear to me by now that the paradigm of politics is dying, and I think you see it too. There isn't going to be a big world leader that's going to save us all. If anything, if there's going to be a big world leader that we're all being told is fantastic, then run away. Run away. Don't trust anyone that mainstream media is pushing hard as some sort of saving figure. Just letting you know, just ahead of time. And this is my experience that you'd be much better off taking what they say in mainstream media, twisting it 180 degrees, and then assuming that now you're in the real world. So anyway, midterms, a lot of strange things happening. And as I said in the last video, I'm a bit of a Carrie Lake fan. I haven't been following her campaign a lot, but I like her. She has a fantastic presence. She's beaming positivity and integrity. Of course, if you hate her, you will completely disagree. But I think that check with your body instead of your mind on this, okay? And she does seem to have the best interests of the people in mind. And of course, she was leading on the polls, and I saw an exit poll just recently today where she was 10% ahead of Katie Hobbs or something. But now, for some strange reason, it's a close race, and they haven't even finished the counting. I thought they were using all kinds of electronic machines to make things better here, but it seems that it takes a whole week to actually get to the place of a final result. It seems kind of banana republic to me, man. And I think the folks behind this election, the producers of this whole movie, they had one job, and that was to ensure that people could trust that this was a fair election, that they came there and that they could see that the process was professional and that they could really trust that no, actually, this vote is going to be counted fairly. But with all of the anomalies, we had all of the various machines breaking down in Arizona. How can they not keep a bloody counting machine or ballot machine running? It's not that advanced, is it? I don't think so. If they can't keep that running, how can they keep this other machines that are supposedly so secure running? I don't know, man. It seems just a little weird. Just a little weird that they shouldn't be able to do that. But of course, I don't have a voice in the matter because I'm not even an American citizen. But there is going to be a lot of people at this point that are going to again question election integrity. And I don't think it would have been that hard to ensure that they didn't. In Florida, they don't, because DeSantis introduced election integrity laws and there was a landslide. For some reason, that part isn't being taken into account now as DeSantis is being championed as maybe the future of the Republican Party and that Trump has, failed. Now that's an interesting narrative because it's a narrative of division. And this is what I want to talk about today. But I just want to wrap up with the various markers around the elections that were a bit odd. I remember, I'm no expert when it comes to this, okay? I have a somewhat of a feel for it. And then my expertise is to see all of the hidden, That's what I've been doing with men for more than a decade, and I do that well. So in the 2020 election, there was a pattern, an old pattern with the bellwether states. I don't remember what they are, but like 8 states that if you take those, you take the presidency. There was an anomaly in 2020 where that didn't happen, which was like a first. And this time you had right track, wrong track polling, and you had presidential approval ratings, and they were all looking very bad for the Democrats, but somehow they didn't kick in the elections. Strangely as well, we have seen in the past that let me just disable this notification thing here. There are so many notifications on a normal computer or a modern computer now. It just drives me mad. But there has been a tendency of the Democrats being way ahead on the polls compared to how they end up. And this time the Republicans were, in fact, quite a bit ahead, but still end up very even Steven. And all of these are pattern interrupts, they're breaks from tradition, which obviously are going to make people that want the Republicans to win question why? Why are things taking time like in 2020? Why can't they just count them quickly? Why are all of these historic patterns for election prediction falling apart? Why are all of these things happening? For these people that set up this election and this completely backwards, developing banana republic election system, I mean they should really lose their jobs, because this is the job they had. It would have created the unifying feeling that actually democracy still functions. But nobody has that feeling at this point. So then we can question what actually is going on. But the point is that there is division being sown, either by malfeasance or by incompetence. Some people, in general, when we get to questions like this, are in the stupidity and incompetence camp. I was watching a clip with Eckhart Tolle and Russell Brand today, where Eckhart Tolle was talking about the Great Reset and how all of these, he chooses to just see all of these Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and these people as incompetent, stupid, like lacking in basic wisdom. I'm more in the malevolence camp by now, because, I see the division that's being sown everywhere. And there is a saying that Satan is the great divider. And when you look at this through a religious symbolic lens, which I think is quite relevant because a lot of people are doing that these days for reasons that I think we need to go into in maybe another video, but religious themes are everywhere now. And even for the people who call themselves rational, they are completely in a religious frame of mind these days. Cult-like, yeah? Trust the science. That's a cult-like statement. It's not a scientific statement. And so then we are in this place of good and evil, where For instance, in a family, you've had life and death conversations around the vaccine. So you have some people who think that you have to take it, and some people who think that you really don't have to, or you should not take it. And then both sides, they believe that their perspective will save lives. From a symbolic lens, that's a satanic setup. So I'm not saying this if you're a Christian fundamentalist, you will take this in one way. If you're like a secular person, you will take it in another way. If you're a Jungian, you will take it in another way. Take it in whatever way you want. I happen to believe, based on all that I have done in my spiritual practice, all of the plant medicine, all of the initiations, and working with the fourth dimensional underworld energies in my past, I do believe that there is certainly a force that lives in humanity that is somewhat similar to what the Bible talks about as Satan. I do believe that. But we don't need to talk about it in an absolutely biblical way, but I've seen the evidence of this again and again. And now this division everywhere is another evidence for it. We see it in the Democratic Party, where we have a division between the neoliberal oligarchic warmongers and the progressive woke people, even though the woke people seem to be increasingly oligarchic and warmongering themselves, completely abandoning all of their principles, which is basically all they're good for, being hypocrites. And then you have the Republicans, where you have the split between the patriots or the MAGA people and then the neocons, who are also, of course, lovers of war and all things imperialism. And now we are also seeing a new conflict being set up, a new division line between Trump and DeSantis. I think this one is particularly sad. I hope it doesn't develop much because, well, personally, I don't really care what you vote for, because fundamentally, and I want you to come along with me for just thought experiment here for just a few moments, that whether you're left or right that's not the battle. Now, I started my life as very liberal. I remember when Obama was voted in, and I'm like, oh wow, I had this feeling like everything's going to be okay. The King's return. I felt so peaceful, so relaxed. And then I saw that there was no justification for that belief whatsoever. I was naive back then. He was a warmonger. He was a divider, as were most other people. Everyone seems to be a divider. Is it them personally, or is it some force that is moving through them, some force that is playing us in humanity? Point being is, don't buy into the division, but realize that there is a hierarchy in an old world paradigm where some particularly dysfunctional human beings at the top that think only of themselves and how they want to reshape humanity and our future in the image of their technocratic dystopian imaginations. I mean, the Great Reset vision of the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, it's one that they're proud of, injecting and penetrating into the cabinets around the world. This is what they're doing. And how can we actually trust that all elections are going to be wonderful and fair and square when we have leaders of villainous supranational organizations proudly announcing on the world stage that they're actually penetrating the political system? So these are our enemies. And we have to realize that this game of fighting between each other on the left and the right, I have moved more to the right. I won't hide that. I'm growing older. I'm less naive. I've seen too much. And I just want to preserve a few things that matter, such as my relationship to God and the family and freedom and justice and these things. I don't particularly want the world to turn into a transhumanist, technocratic, dystopian hellscape, which seems to be the kind of spirit that is running through the Democratic Party now, but it could completely have been the other way around. Because these forces of division, they just move it through the channels where they have the most bang for their buck. Of course, if you are in the religious archetypal frame of this being a satanic phenomenon, of course it's going to be like that. And so it could just as easily have been moving through the Republican Party as it has done in the past. So it doesn't actually matter squat if you're on the left or the right. If you don't realize what the real situation which is happening here is that they could have made this election smooth. They didn't. They failed. I cannot believe that they're that incompetent. I believe that it is deliberate so as to divide us, now to divide Republican Trump in the camp there. Let's see if they can find together in some way. I don't know. But the point being is that we cannot allow this drama to keep playing out. I don't think so. I mean, the price we're going to pay for that is very, very high indeed. But the way things are is that there is a certain momentum that the collective of humanity has right now. And we can see that through the midterms and the drama around them. And that cannot be stopped. We are on a runaway train, and it has to arrive at its final destination before we can really, truly have our own great reset in a decentralized, sovereign, natural way, and not in the kind of eat the bugs and be happy. Yeah, little slaves. Not in that way. We don't want that. We don't want that. Thank you very much, Mr. Schwab. We don't want that, Mr. Biden, even though you think that you want to build back better. But what is it that you're going to build back? What? Are you going to destroy something? You only build back something after you destroyed it, don't you? What are you going to destroy exactly? Like, it seems kind of like you're into destroying things. Why is everyone into destroying things, huh? Questions. Think. Like, really think for yourself. Not about left and right. It's about, look at these people who think they're above us, that are playing us, making us think that we're enemies, when actually we both, on all sides of this, we have the same common perception that there are some leaders out there that are responsible for the state of the world. We just happen to believe that the leaders are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. But aside from that, our fundamental belief, our fundamental frame of reality is exactly the same. Fancy that. Could it be that these people are actually working together, that they're actually pushing the same agenda and making us feel that we have some level of influence over the democratic system, as they have champagne in the back room and are laughing at, we got them this time too, right? Maybe conspiratorial, but the way manipulation and tyranny works, we're seeing it happen, we're seeing it play out. Deception. Division. Well, yeah. Satanic archetype playing out all around us. Some of you may be like, this is crazy talk. It's not, actually. It's not. Some of you may totally agree with this, and some of you may just think this is, you disagree. I would love to hear those comments down below, because at the end of the day, well, I was going to say that conversation is what's going to bring us together, but I think there needs to be a little bit more than that. At the very least, we can try. We can try and come together in more unity yet again. So let me know what you think, whether you disagree or you agree, and where you think things are going at this point. Are is the Republican camps of DeSantis and Trump going to go at each other now? Is that whole thing a drama that's going to be settled? Is it all theater? Is everything theater? Are they all on the same team? Is this election legit? Is it not legit? I would love to hear what you think down below. And if you want to hear more of this kind of content, then let me know by liking and subscribing. And well, I'll see you in the next video. And now I'm going to make sure that with all of these notifications firing as we speak, that I'm not going to forget turning them off again next time. It was a pleasure to be with you. I will speak with you soon again. Have a great day. Bye bye.